We are live. All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our live show. Chris,
Tiffany,
here with High Seas Cruising, here to talk about all things cruising, specifically our most recent cruise on board Grandeur of the Seas. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and of course, the ugly. Do want to start off, Desiree, I see you are already here. Thank you for the super chat. So you had a question about starting your own channel. Get my email address out of the description below. Shoot me an email and we can talk about that. And I can give you any tips, tricks, answer any questions you have about starting your own channel. Always willing to help out a new content creator. So I figure we do it that way.
yes.
That'll be a whole lot easier. That way at least for this live chat, we can focus on Grandeur of the Seas in our most recent cruise. So you got to go cruising.
Yes.
What'd you think?
I thought it was great.
You thought it was great?
Except for the bumpies.
The bumpies.
Yes.
All right. So I figure we'll go ahead and start on Embarkation Day. Embarkation was super, super smooth. It was fast. We got off the shuttle bus, walked in, checked in, went up the escalator, walked right on the ship. It was literally that fast.
Yeah. No lines.
No lines, no waiting, no sitting down, no nothing. Just boom, on the ship. We were there that quick. And so we got on the ship. So what did you think the difference, I guess, would be between the larger ships you've been on and this being the smallest ship that we've been on? Which did you like better?
I liked the smaller ship. I liked the less crowds. I liked not all the bells and whistles, you know. I did hear people complain that there wasn't enough bells and whistles and that they were a little bored. We were not bored. I thought we had a great time.
Angela's who joined us. And Angela, if I read correctly yesterday, you were on the cruise with us too. If I understood correctly. I believe Angela was on the ship with us at the exact same time. So I'm sorry. Go ahead, baby.
But yeah, I really enjoyed the smaller cruise, the smaller ship. The only thing I didn't like about it was because it is a smaller ship, it only had the 2 stabilizers. So we did feel all the swells. But that's the risk you take when you cruise in a hurricane.
Well, we didn't see the hurricane. What we saw was the ocean was really, really rough the last couple of days on the ship. It was moving around a lot. Enough that they actually had put all of the seasickness bags, they were putting them in all of the stairwells, and they would fill them up in the nighttime, and come morning time they were empty. So people were using them. It was a little bit rough.
As I said, she was on a different cruise because she got back on Sunday, we got back on Friday.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I misunderstood from a comment yesterday. So we did have some rougher weather. Like I said, the seas were pretty rough, and I'm assuming it's from the weather that was pushing out of Florida, just kind of roughed everything up out there a little bit.
But just the seas were rough. I mean, it was beautiful, sunshine, hardly any clouds in the sky. The wind was not horrific.
No.
It was just the swells.
And it made people sick. People were talking about getting sick. There was some seasickness out there, but that's kind of the price the risk you take. I guess when you cruise that type of year, you can get some of those rougher seas.
Yeah.
But overall, it didn't affect my quality of my cruise.
Angela was on Liberty of the Seas, and her sister saw your ship passing ours on Friday.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay. That makes more sense because I thought the way I read the comment that you were on the ship with us, and I was like, anyway, I read that wrong. that one's on me. All right, so that was Embarkation Day. We had a good day. We went to the dining room. We went and saw the theater show they had there that night. It was The Juggler.
Yes, The Juggler.
The Juggler first night. Now, I do have all of the cruise videos. They're going to be coming out here over the next couple of weeks. Got them kind of fit in there where I can. So they are upcoming. We do have video on everything we did and everything we are talking about. So you guys will get to see all this as we go forward. So far, yesterday, Embarkation Day released. And then tomorrow is the first full sea day video. So I got them coming out every other day is the way those are currently coming out.
So what did you like? Did you like the smaller ship or the bigger ship?
Well, the smaller ship was definitely easier to navigate. Because it was smaller, it was more compact, you could learn the layout of the ship very quickly. But with a smaller ship comes smaller ship things. Everything on the ship was smaller. So there's, to me, in some areas there was less seating. The dining room was a lot tighter than I think it is on the bigger ships. A lot less 2 top tables, just for 2. They were a lot more of the bigger style tables. But I mean, it was a nice ship. It was a pretty ship, but you could tell that it was dated. Mm-hmm. And the crew was actually on there while we're on the ship. The officers were going around because apparently Grandeur is going to be going in for a refit. She's going to go into dry dock. She's going to get refit here. I'm guessing probably next year, but they were asking opinions on what needed to change and stuff like that. So I'm guessing they're going to make some pretty decent sized changes to her the way they were talking. So they, at least that's what they're anticipating that they're going to be able to do.
The coffee.
You got a horrible glare.
The coffee meet and greet with the
crew.
The crew, yeah.
They did. On the first day there, they had at 10 o'clock in the morning, they had a thing where it was coffee with the officers is what they called it. You got a chance to go down there and just hang out. And they were just talking, asking questions. It was a good interaction with the crew.
Yes.
And I will say on the smaller ship like that, you definitely get more crew time. If you want to talk to crew members, get to know crew members a little bit better, they seem to be less busy, less in a rush, less in a hurry. So they actually had more interaction time. So that was a good thing about being on the small ship.
Yeah.
But like I said, she needs a little dry dock action. You could tell in our cabin, and it's not a super big deal, but it caught me a little bit. It's the first ship I've ever been on when there was no refrigerator in the room. Wasn't even really space for a refrigerator.
No, there wasn't.
Our shower head was a little wonky. It kind of sprayed in its own direction. The little clothesline thing was probably little super minor details that just kind of point out the ship needed a little bit of love, but not a bad experience.
So Angela said they didn't get to go to the Cayman Islands because of the hurricane and wants to know if we made it to all of our ports of call. Yes, we only had one port of call, and that was Cozumel. It was a short 4-day cruise.
Right, yeah, because we sailed on Monday and we're back Friday morning.
Yeah, so we did make it to all of our ports of call.
Yeah, it was just the one port of call, and that alone was an amazing day. Yes. We're not there yet, but Cozumel was super amazing.
Yes.
Super, super amazing. So the second day was the sea day. We just enjoyed time on board the ship.
Yes.
We played trivia. We went to the theater show. Excuse me.
They canceled the theater show Tuesday night.
Oh, that's right. We tried to go to the theater show Tuesday night, but the sea was so rough that they ended up having to cancel the show. And even from that night on, you could see the actors and actresses up on stage, trying to keep their balance. It was rough for those guys. I'm super impressed they were able to put on the shows that they did put on and do the dance moves they were doing with the sea being the way it was.
So Tara said that her balcony room had a refrigerator in July. So we did hear that some of the rooms did have a refrigerator. One of the guests that we sat with in the dining room said that their refrigerator had actually frozen up. So they were thinking about unplugging it and sitting it out on their balcony. So I'm thinking if it was a balcony or a suite, then yes, they had the refrigerators.
Well, I guess there's 2 kinds on the older ships. I learned this from the officers. There's the refrigerator, just a small kind of college dorm refrigerator. And then I guess there's a cooler on board, which my understanding doesn't really do a whole lot. It'll keep things at a temperature that they're already at, but it actually won't cool anything down. And then some rooms just didn't have anything. And it's just purely the age of the ship. But yeah, there were some refrigerators on board the ship, according to some people that were there, and the officer said, yeah, there's some. And so, as I said, we had a super tiny room up in the bow, which, yeah, I'll never do that again. I have gone through all of our bookings and moved us to the middle. That was rough. No more bow. Normally, it's not a problem.
I think it wouldn't have been so bad if the bed had been facing a different direction and we rocked with the waves, but instead we were like this with the waves. So when it go one way, your stomach was up in your throat and then down in your feet. But I think if the bed had been faced different, then we would.
Right, it'd been in the same direction as the ship instead of side to side.
Yeah.
That makes sense, and that's probably true too. So, but yeah, so we had a sea day. That was a good day.
Mm-hmm.
Rough night. Then we get to Cozumel. Cozumel was awesome.
Yes, it was.
Cozumel was awesome. We did get to go on the Save a Sea Turtle experience. And that has got to be one of the, I'm not sure what you're doing. It's got to be one of the best excursions that we've ever been on.
I was looking for the little turtle that they gave us.
But yeah, that honestly has to be the best excursion we ever on. This is what you're looking for.
Yes.
Okay. So that one was super cool. We rode out, and it's you go over to the east side of Cozumel, so the ocean side, away from Mexico, and you literally just pull over on the side of the road. So it's not like you go to a building or anything like that. You go to where the turtles are. You literally just pull over on the side of the road, climb off the back of the truck. You go down on the beach, and they have it already all marked off for where the nests already are, because it's all done by the biologists and the conservationists and everything like that. This is all done in conjunction with the Mexican authorities. So it's purely for turtle conservation. So they have it marked off. You get your assigned nest that you're going to look at. And we got lucky. It was just us and two other couples on the excursion. So it was a super small group.
Angela sent a message, but then she retracted it.
Oh, okay. And like I said, it is a completely fulfilling excursion. It's work, though. It's work. So I will say this much. You need to be able to walk on terrain unassisted, because it's, like I said, no sidewalks, no pavements. You go through some bushes, and it's pretty hilly getting out there. So you would need to be able to get down the beach a good ways unassisted. Then once you get your nest, you've got to dig down in the sand about 4 foot.
And they don't give you tools. They give you one glove, and that's the hand. The hand that you put the glove on is the hand that you dig with.
Right. Yeah. You can't have any kind of tools or anything like that, because of course they don't want you to, hit a turtle or anything like that. So it's all got to be done with your hands. You got to dig down about 4 foot. So it's pretty funny. You're down in the hole, and it's pretty much just your legs sticking out the top of the hole. And sometimes you're trying not to let the sand collapse in, but it was completely worthwhile. In our nest, there was one baby turtle left. We found 96 eggs.
Yes.
So we found 96 hatched eggs, which means those turtles made it back to the ocean, or at least made it out of the nest. And we only found one baby turtle left in the nest. And of course, we were able to rescue her. Excuse me, my allergies have been driving me nuts. The folks next to us got one baby turtle in theirs. And then the first group of folks, they found 3. So a total of 5 baby turtles were rescued. And then the biologists take the baby turtles. So when the excursion video comes out, you're going to see the turtle in a bucket of sand. Well, they take the turtles, and they don't release them until the nighttime. So when the predators are gone, the birds, because you can see the bird tracks where the birds try to catch them and stuff like that, they release them at nighttime with less predators, and then release them back into the ocean.
Angela said they had a lot of fun. She didn't want to get off the ship when they got back to Galveston.
Never do.
Never do. Never do.
Well, yes and no. It's that feeling. I don't want the cruise to be over, but I'm also looking forward to sleeping in my bed.
Yes.
It's disembarkation day is always a mixed bag of feelings for us.
Yeah, because then it's what do you want for dinner?
what's the do I really want to get off, and at the same time I really want to go home and sleep in my own bed. So it's kind of a mixed bag.
Yeah.
But what did you like about the turtles?
Just saving them and being able to actually see them in their natural. I mean, we see the videos, the animal shows and stuff like that, but to actually see it.
And you got to hold.
And I got to hold it, and we got to name it. And of course, we named her Emma. Our granddaughter's birthday was the same day as Chris's, so of course we named the turtle Emma. I don't know if she was a boy or a girl, but we named her Emma anyway.
Yeah, I keep calling it a girl too, but we actually have no idea. It was just a baby turtle.
So just being able to actually see that instead of just watching it on TV, because it's a totally different experience when you're there seeing it.
And then after that, they took us over to a little beach club.
Where we have to make sure we say it right, though. Punta, with an N, Morena.
Yeah, was the name of it. And you get to go over there for a little while. And it's got sunbeds, hammocks, chairs. You can get in the water. They have food, drinks, shops.
The vendors come to you. You don't even have to go to the shops. They come to you.
You know how the vendors are. If you've ever been to Mexico, you know how those vendors are. They're very quickly to make sure they get to you.
Yes.
They weren't overly pushy or anything. Once we told them no, that we weren't interested in. They didn't have any issues. But that place was really pretty.
Yes.
It was really nice and definitely not crowded at all. Not at all. And then we went back to the ship.
But before we got back to the ship, there's a lot of garbage that comes up onto the ocean and the seaside and everything. So we saw combs, shoes, plastic bags, plastic bottles. And so our tour guide was telling us that on the weekends, they take a group out there, usually the schools and stuff, and they clean the beaches and everything. And he takes some of the plastic and melts it down and makes it into these turtles, basically made out of garbage, and gives them to everybody as a reminder, be careful what you're doing out there, so that we're not polluting and tearing up the oceans and the beaches and stuff like that. So I thought this was really cool. So, yeah.
Yeah, a good environmental reminder that, hey, you throw something in the water, because he said a lot of that trash came as far as from Africa. Mm-hmm. The way that the Atlantic currents go, he said a lot of that came from Africa. They pick it up, they read it, and they check it, and you can see where stuff was manufactured. And he says, yeah, a lot of it comes from that far away. So, yeah. Angela said her stateroom looked over on the promenade, so she had one of the interior promenade rooms on Liberty.
That'd be kind of cool. That's a good thing when you like to people watch.
Was it noisy or being in a room overlooking the promenade? Yeah. Did you get a lot of noise off the promenade? That's one of the things I've always wondered about those rooms, because we saw them mm-hmm. and everything like that. I guess that would be the biggest question: is how much noise did you get off of the promenade? So after that, I said we went back to the ship. We got to see the show that night. Yeah. And then the next day again was a sea day. And for our second sea day, we did the behind the scenes all access tour on the ship.
It was kind of noisy, but not too bad.
Not too bad. It's kind of about what I figured it would be. Yeah. Because it does calm down in the evenings, once it gets pretty late. Yeah. But I figured with the music playing and everything like that, if you try to nap during the daytime, it could be possibly disruptive. All right. But we did the behind the scenes access tour, and that was really cool.
Yeah, learned a lot.
We learned a whole bunch about all the stuff that goes on where you don't see. We got to go into the galley, hang out in the galley. We got to speak to the chef. Then we went backstage in the theater and got to learn different things about the theater, how things work, stuff that you don't see from the audience's point of view. That was really cool. We got to go down the I-95, which there's a hallway basically in the crew area that runs from the back of the ship all the way to the front of the ship. It's just one long hallway. We got to go down that. The crew called that the I-95. We got to go
in the stores.
We went into the stores where they stored meat, sodas, produce, where all the provisions are on the
Oh,
ship.
that's cool. She got to take a picture with the captain of the ship.
Oh, that is super cool. We didn't get to see the captain. He wasn't on the bridge.
No.
We got to go to the environmental area where they do all of the recycling.
Sea Long Journeys. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Or Sea Lake.
But we got to go into the recycling portion of the ship. And I think I got more information in that particular section than in any other, at least for me.
Yes.
Like, I didn't know that, like, Grandeur of the Seas, at least, for them, they are a zero landfill ship. They send absolutely nothing to landfills. They recycle every single thing they can recycle. They burn a lot of stuff directly on the ship for energy itself. And then they process and clean water, waste, and all of that kind of stuff right there on the ship.
And they go above and beyond. You know, they have the standards that I don't know, EPA, I guess, sets, or whoever sets the standards. And then there, of course, there's Royal standards, and then there's Grandeur of the Sea standards, and they try to be like 2 to 3 points below all the standards set. So
right, and I know cruise ships put exhaust in the air and stuff like that. But even that apparently looks way worse than it really is, because they got, like, what do you say, something like 9 scrubbers scrubbing the exhaust after they've recirculated it a couple times for extra energy. You know, you see lots and hear lots of stories about how dirty cruise ships are. Then you get to actually go and see what they're doing, you know, below decks like that. And they're not as dirty as they are portrayed in the news sometimes. Not saying they're spotlessly clean, but they're definitely not as dirty as people have made them out to be.
yeah.
They're definitely not. And we have video of all of that. Now, we did go into the engine compartment, into the engine control room, and we did get to go on the bridge, but we could not take any kind of video in those 2 areas.
We got patted down by security, stuff taken away from us.
And then security escorts you
Yes.
into that space and then onto the bridge. So we did get to go into engineering. We did get to go on the bridge. The captain was not on the bridge when we were there. We got to talk to the second officer. Second officer was the one that gave us a quick little bridge tour.
Sea Lake Sound, they have found that most cruise ships are very clean and that they've only been on RCO. Now, when we're talking clean, we're talking environmental friendly, not necessarily housekeeping.
Right. Yeah. This is on the set because we did a behind the scenes tour, and we got to go into the recycling section of the ship where they, you know, recycle liquid, glass, plastic. They were recycling everything.
Yeah.
They had whole bins of stuff that they were separating and recycling, down to the point they even recycle the glass by color. So it was a really big deal. And that's the clean that we're talking about, is they're a lot cleaner environmentally than people think they are.
We also got to go into the laundry room.
Oh, yes, we did get to go into the laundry room. Got to see ship-sized washing machines and things like that. That was pretty cool, too.
Yeah.
Got
to see how they iron and steam, and they basically put the shirt on a mannequin and then blow up this mannequin, and it's all pressed.
So what was your favorite part of the behind-the-scenes tour?
I think the stores, seeing how they, each restaurant, you know, they have the supplies that they need for the cruise, and then they carry an extra 3 to 4 day supply of everything in case something happens. And then just learning that they can't come down and get whatever they want for the store or for that restaurant, that particular restaurant. They actually have to put in a requisition, come down and shop, get approved. And, you know, I just thought, you know, it's all there. They just take it and go do what they're going to do with it and stuff like that. So I thought that was interesting. I know you were more into the EP or the environmental stuff. I didn't understand a lot in the engine room. So, I mean, yeah. And then the bridge, yeah, that's where all the action happens. But
There was no action.
There was no action. The first captain.
No. First officer.
First officer. Sorry, I'm still learning all this stuff. The first officer was just kind of sitting in his chair, just staring out. And, there's not a whole lot going on until they get into port and actually have to steer that thing and do what they got to do.
Yeah.
The
bridge was fascinating, but it was honestly the least interesting part of the entire tour because he was like, yeah, we're on autopilot. He looks out the window. The computer drives. We're going to go here.
Yeah.
You guys have any questions?
So, yeah, I mean, everybody thinks that there's a lot of hustle and bustle, I guess, on the bridge, and there really isn't. There was more hustle.
Not at sea.
Not at sea, no. There was more hustle and bustle going on in
every other space.
Every other space, yeah. So Sea Lake Journey says they've done the behind the scenes before, and it was amazing to see all the process and everything, including the uneaten food. Yeah, they have a process for the uneaten food too. So,
and what was really nice about it too is we actually got to interact and meet with crew members who are not passenger-facing crew members.
Yeah.
So they don't get to see you, and you don't get to see them, except for in rare instances and cases like this, where you get to go into their workspace.
Yeah.
So, the folks down in the laundry, they're not passenger facing. They never see you. And, you don't ever see the engineers. You see the bridge officers, yes. But, it's not like you're hanging out with the environmental officer.
Yeah, no.
So you get to meet a whole bunch of crew members and interact with crew members that you would never, ever get to meet any other time. And that made it that much better, in my opinion.
Yeah. That and seeing there was a human resources department right there on the ship.
Yeah, you're fascinated with that.
Yes.
But yeah, so I do highly recommend the behind the scenes tour if you get an opportunity to take one. I know a lot of the cruise lines do have them. I think Carnival's is still, they haven't restarted it back up yet. But the cruise lines all have one. So if you get an opportunity to do one, highly recommend it if you're interested in, seeing what you could see other than the pool deck. So that's my opinion on that.
And some of them are different because I was talking to a friend of mine who has cruised and done behind the scenes, and they said that they don't think they can do it anymore because there was a lot of steep ladders that they had to climb up and down. We weren't on any ladders. We were in the elevator. So I guess it just depends on the different cruise lines, which cruise line you're on, that you do the behind the scenes.
We had to go all the way to the bottom of the ship.
Yeah.
Our deck was underwater. There's deck 1, deck 0, and then the deck below that. So we got to go all the way to the bottom. That was super cool to know that it's like, hey, you guys are underwater now. So
Jay-Z said they were on the Grandeur in 2018. They loved small ships and loved the Lady G. Did miss the fridge, though. So did Chris. Don't let him fool you.
It's so weird. I don't know if I missed it that much or not because we had the soda package. So you get the cup and you can go up to the machines, I have completely drawn a blank as to what they're called. But you can go up to the soda machine and it gives you ice. So I can take my drink up there, get some ice, and still get it cold.
I think the reason we missed it is because we actually carried energy drinks onto the ship and then had no place to put them.
Yeah, well, that's just purely my luck that I would carry energy drinks on board the ship and then not have a fridge to put them in. When normally I'm like, I don't want to carry them, so I don't. And then I have a fridge. So that's probably just pure Murphy's Law luck. And then they did something really cool on this one, and I hadn't seen it on any other Royal Caribbean ship, but they did an international parade of flags for the crew members. So all the crew members from the different countries brought out their flags.
Some of them even dressed up in their
costumes from their country or clothing from their country. And they did this big thing in the atrium with music, and they were waving their flags. And on some countries, they came out and, danced, dances from those countries. It was really cool. I'd never seen anything like that before. Hello.
Desiree says hello.
Desiree, I don't know if you were still in the room at the very beginning when I answered your question. If you missed it at the very beginning, email me from the description below. My email address is down there. Thank you, Desiree, for the super chat. We really, really appreciate that. But to answer your question about starting a YouTube channel, email me any questions you have or anything like that. We can talk about that on the side, and I will be happy to give you any tips and tricks and anything that I have. While I am no means a super expert on the subject, I'll tell you everything I know. There's always room for more of us to share cruising with everybody.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, back to the Parade of Flags. That was really cool.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
It's really cool. I did get video of it, so I will have that for you guys to watch. Won't be able to see the entire thing because they played some copyrighted music in the middle of it. But I got the majority of it. So, but there's a couple minutes I had to take out simply over copyrighted music. And then we came home. That was pretty much the highlights of that particular cruise. Mm-hmm. So now comes the question, the good, the bad, and the ugly. All right.
Angela lost her cup on the pool deck and then found it, then bought another cup because they're cool. Can you explain to me how you get or put on a cruise channel like you guys have it? Please respond.
Yes. Again, send me email info. My email is in the description of this video. Email me that question and I will talk to you about it offline when we're not doing a live chat, and I'll be happy to answer any of your questions. But I want to talk about that offline. That way we can talk about the cruising when we're here today, but I'll be happy to answer those questions for you. Just shoot me an email. You'll see my Gmail down there. You can do that. You can hit me up on Facebook, any of those, and I'll be happy to go over that with you. So, what was your favorite part of the cruise? What was the good?
I would have to say the excursions.
Oh, that excursion was good.
The excursions were good. I loved the games. They played different games on this one. So watching the games was a lot of fun. I'm not sure what the name of that one game was that we caught the first night where they were running up and naming the song and having to do a little dance. That was fun to watch. Just watching the people getting into the games and stuff. I had a really good time watching all that.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you. The excursions were great, but that's not, that's over here. As far as the ship goes, I would have to say the fact that it was smaller sized and I could interact more with the crew.
Yeah, that was definitely, I did like the fact that it was a smaller ship. So.
It was more personable. I mean, we actually had time to stand in the hallway and our room steward, her name was Maria, and we actually had a few minutes to actually speak with Maria.
Oh, we will say a prayer that he gets better. Let us know how he's doing, Angela. She's got to take her husband.
Oh, yeah, definitely, Angela. We will definitely keep him in our prayers. Absolutely. Yeah, and just definitely let us know at your convenience. Make sure everything is okay, please.
Mm-hmm. And then Z-Show says, good evening, everyone.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to the show. Yeah, I know I lost my train of thought. I always do that.
A smaller ship.
Yeah, smaller ship, like I said, it gives a good crew interaction, and I really like that. It's kind of a more of an intimate setting. And we definitely never had a problem getting a place to sit, like in the theater. We were actually in the front row every single night of the theater. And I agree, the games were different, and they were a little bit better on a smaller ship. Probably because they don't have all of the big bells and whistles. They have to have some better games, I guess, to keep folks entertained, that they came up with some stuff we hadn't seen before, and that actually enjoyed that too.
Yes.
So what was bad? And keep in mind,
this is
any cruise, but any cruise is a good cruise.
Yes.
So when we say bad, it's not necessarily like, oh my God, nothing like that. It's just like kind of wish this might have been a little different.
So the food was not the greatest, and the dining room. The dining room was great. The service was great. The food that we ate in the dining room was great, but the seating situation, we asked for a table for two, And we got the table for two, but there was less than a foot between us and the next table.
Yeah.
So we were like sitting like this.
This close to, Tiffany's across from me, and the person sitting next to me is still this close at a table for two.
So
small dining room.
And I get it. You know, it's a smaller ship, so they're trying. And we did learn that they do not use, because the dining room is 2 levels. They only use the bottom level for breakfast and lunch. They only use the top dining room for the anytime dinner.
Right.
But we even went in for lunch, and, you know, granted, we didn't ask for a table for two, but they put us with at this huge table that seats like 10 people. And they tried to put me right next to this other lady. And the other lady's like, she doesn't want to sit on my lap. So they moved us down to the other end and then sat more people right next to Chris. So we wound up leaving, just because it gets a little claustrophobic. I mean, I like talking to other people and stuff like that, but it was a little claustrophobic in the dining room. So I'd have to say that was the one thing I didn't like. We did eat more in the buffet. Because of that. And even this time, the room service, and I know room service.
You're not there yet.
I was talking about the food.
Yeah, you're not there yet. That falls under a whole other category.
Okay.
I know what you're going to talk about. No, we ain't even there yet. That falls under ugly. Yeah, so listen, the food wasn't bad, but it was not. I've had better on Royal Caribbean before. Royal Caribbean has done a better job on other cruises than they did on this particular cruise. It was less than ideal for Royal Caribbean, I guess is the best way to put it. Said it wasn't bad, but I know they can do better. I just know they could do better. Too much stuff on the buffet was cold or stale, I guess. They weren't refreshing fast enough, I guess.
And you were really upset they didn't have your Caribbean meat pies.
Yes. Ooh. So Caribbean night, on every other Royal Caribbean ship, and granted that's not 1,000, so maybe it's different on other ships as well. But in Caribbean night, in the Windjammer, they make Caribbean meat pies. I look forward to it. I want them. It's the one night I guarantee you I'm going to eat in the Windjammer Cafe. And they had Caribbean night. It came. I went up there, and they didn't make any. So, but that doesn't fall under bad because they just didn't make something I wanted. That was a personal disappointment.
Yeah. Not
a fault of the cruise lines. Because like I said, maybe that's not something they serve on every single ship. Maybe that's not something they serve. Maybe they don't, because it's a smaller ship and the kitchen's smaller, that may be something they can't make.
Yeah.
So that's not a Royal Caribbean fault. That's a personal disappointment. That is a personal disappointment for me. But not. So what was bad on the ship for me? They had a problem refilling the Coca-Cola Freestyle machine. That was probably the worst thing I faced on that ship, was the fact that they weren't refilling that machine.
Desiree asked you to send you her email after the show.
Okay. As it Desiree, if you look in the description of any video of ours, the email address is in there. But if not, I'll be happy to send it to you, okay? But yeah, our email address is in the description of any one of our videos that you look at. It's there on all of them. All right. Like I said, and when I say bad, again, that is subjective, and it is purely our opinion on what we experienced, because we all cruise differently. Mm-hmm. And we all, 10 of us could go on the exact same cruise and have 10 complete different experiences. So this is just opinions as to how it relates to us. Not putting down any cruise line or anything like that, because at the end of the day,
and we're still on a cruise.
We're still cruising. And that's always a good thing. These are just itty bitty little inconveniences that, you make it go from, 100% to 99.9%. With the exception of the ugly. And the ugly. Ooh. The ugly. Room service.
And there's a story behind that, because that was the night that it was really, really rough. I was not feeling good. It was really hard to walk on the ship and stuff like that. And we called room service, and everybody had the same idea we did. They were all in their cabins, they're all laying down, they all called room service. So it was about an hour, maybe a little bit longer, before we got our food. And yes, it was very cold and not good at all. But can't really blame anybody for that, because everybody on the ship had the same idea.
I would have rather them just take more time and bring me hot food than to be quicker and bring me cold, barely edible food. You know, I could have perfectly dealt with this and, hey, we're super busy. And they said, what, 45 minutes to an hour?
They said an hour.
They said an hour. And if they'd have said, you know what, we're super, super busy, it could be up to 2 hours before you get your food, and then they bring me hot, good food, I'd have been just fine with that. But if you rush and you bring me, I mean, it wasn't even lukewarm. It was cold. Food to the room. The dessert, which was cheesecake, was warmer than the chicken. Okay? That's a no-go. You know, no. Especially because you got to pay for room service.
Yes.
So I said,
we wound up not eating it.
yeah, I can completely get busy. Completely. And I can completely understand if they just said, hey, we're just going to take a little bit more. It's going to take more time to get it to you because we have to deliver you quality. I'd have been fine with that. That I could have gotten versus what they brought.
Tara said she agrees about the freestyle machine. Hers was always out of Dr. Pepper.
So, okay, I drink weird soda. Let me start off with that. I like lighter colored soda. Dark sodas like Cokes and Dr. Peppers and root beers and stuff like that, for whatever reason, don't agree with my stomach very well. So I usually drink lighter sodas like Sprites, ginger ales.
Mountain Dews.
Zeros. Has to be zeros, though. Or Mountain Dews because it's a lighter color soda. No, we are not sponsored by Mountain Dew. And so in the Coca-Cola Freestyle machines, like I said, my choices are Mellow Yellow, ginger ale, or Sprite. But Mellow Yellow is the only one that has caffeine. The other two don't. And Mellow Yellow was the one they were out of every time I just needed a little pick-me-up.
JC wants to know what the room service cost was.
With taxes, it's $9 and some change. I could try to find the exact invoice. I actually printed it.
But we got 2 dinners, 2 desserts, 2 appetizers, and it was...
Yeah, on Royal, it's a flat rate. It's I want to say it's $7.95 plus the 18% gratuity on top of that. Comes out to like $9 and some change, but it's a one flat rate for the room. So it's not super expensive. And we did it on Adventure of the Seas.
It was great.
And it was spectacular. It was spectacular. It was just a complete miss on this particular sailing. So the one that gets expensive is, or starting to get expensive, is going to be Carnival, since they've gone to a a la carte menu for their room service. Hopefully it's not something that catches on with the other cruise lines, but we'll see.
But Royal's the only one we've ever done room service on.
Right, yeah. Normally we're not big room service people. We tried it on Adventure to try it, simply because I can't share an experience with you guys if I don't participate in the experience. That's why I had Tiffany rock climb up a wall one time. Because we can't tell you what it's like until I make Tiffany do it. So, yeah, normally we don't even really do it all that often. But we had it was so enjoyable when we did it on Adventure of the Seas, and it was a rough seas, and we didn't really want to try going back up to deck 9 and get tossed around.
I was not feeling good that night.
Yeah, Tiffany was feeling rough. We thought, well, we'd do it again. It was such a pleasurable experience last time. Let's try it again. And yeah, it was not so pleasurable the second time. So, and again, that does not put me off from Grandeur of the Seas. It does not put me off from room service. It's happened one time, so I will call it a off night. won't stop me from trying it again. Now, if we try it a couple more times and it continues to be bad, then I'm going to come back and tell y'all it's bad. But at this point, it's an off night. They said they were slammed, they were busy. I'm sure they were getting tossed around in the kitchen as well.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure they were.
Yeah, while as a passenger it was disappointing, I also think there's another side to that story, and I can agree with that. But I do think they should have just said it's going to take a whole lot longer, and I would have been more okay with it taking more than it would have been the way the food actually arrived.
Yeah.
So, but they remembered silverware this time, so that's a plus. That is a plus. All right, so what was do you have an ugly for the cruise?
I don't really have an ugly for the cruise. I mean,
that was probably the only bad thing that really happened.
Yeah, and like I said, I completely understand the whole thing. It was a bad night for everybody that night. So.
All right, so then you got to book another cruise. Mm-hmm. Are you booking a small ship, or are you booking a bigger ship? If you had to book right now, which one would you book?
A small ship.
You'd book another small ship?
Yes.
Cool, you have none of those coming up in your future.
I know. I have big ships coming up.
Well, no, I take that back. The Disney Magic is a smaller ship. Then after that, you're on the Breeze.
Well, we're on the Breeze in a couple weeks.
Yeah, we're on the Breeze in 25 days.
Yes.
25 days. We'll be back on the Breeze. I actually leave Saturday. I'm leaving Saturday morning to go to Mobile, Alabama to get on the final cruise of the Carnival Ecstasy. But I'll be doing that one alone. Tiffany won't be joining me for that one. So I got another small ship coming up.
Yes.
And then you're going to the Breeze, which is not a jumbo ship, but she's much bigger than the Grandeur of the Seas.
That one's going to be fun, though.
And then after that, you got a Royal class ships.
Yes. Yeah, small ships.
I mean, it was a good cruise. I did not miss anything off of a bigger ship. I was not walking around going, there's no water slide. I'm annoyed. It wasn't anything like that.
And just people in general on the smaller ship, because the big ships, they have all the bells and whistles. People were ruder, no etiquette, pushing, shoving, trying to get up and down on the elevator. You didn't have that on the smaller ships because there are no bells and whistles. So it was a lot calmer.
Well, I'll be able to give you an actual comparison here in a couple months, because I just did Grandeur. And my next Royal Caribbean is Allure of the Seas. So I'm going from one extreme to the other, and I'll definitely be able to have a much better comparison on small versus large as far as the Royal Caribbean fleet when I go between the two.
Yes. So which do you prefer, the smaller or the bigger? Because I know you like being on the Flow Rider and stuff. Granted, I can't seem to get a video of that, but
the Flow Rider's fun, but I don't do it for a week. I do it one time and I'm done with it. I would say that something that the bigger ships have that the smaller ships don't have is you have more food options, though, for one.
Yeah. The Park Cafe that was in the Serenity deck, that had some weird hours.
And it was super tiny.
Yes.
And it didn't not have a whole lot of options to it versus some of the park cafes, the Sorrentos, and stuff that we've seen on the bigger ships. That's probably the biggest downfall to the smaller ship, was the lack of food options that you could get outside of the main dining room and the buffet. Yeah. I would say that is probably what would cause me to maybe look at the next size ship. Yeah. Like Liberty of the Seas. When we were on Liberty of the Seas, I love that ship. Mm-hmm. I loved it. It was good sized. I liked the promenade. Even you said you were missing that promenade.
Yeah, I did miss the promenade. There wasn't much of a promenade.
But on Adventure had the Sorrentos and still had the Park Cafe and everything's right there. That may be the one point that would make me like a slightly bigger ship versus a super small ship. But again, we went out on Monday, we were back on Friday. It was quiet, it was intimate, it was not rowdy.
Yeah.
people were calm because the majority of the people on the smaller ships know that it doesn't have the bells and whistles. So they're looking for a quieter, calmer, gentler cruise, I think, versus people that pick a cruise ship, hey, this one has a roller coaster on the top or a go-kart track or this or that. They're looking for that type of excitement. And unless you just absolutely mistakenly, don't do any research on your cruise ship, the majority of the people on these small cruise ships like Grandeur, what I expect I'll probably see a lot of next week on the Ecstasy, because it's also an older, smaller ship, is that they know they're getting an older, smaller ship, and they're looking for that particular cruise vibe.
Yeah. And
so I think that makes the vibe, because it was a real chill vibe.
Yeah, it was. It was very relaxed, chilled. Jay-Z said they can't wait for your comparison.
Yeah, I will have that for you guys in January. I said I sail on Allure January the 6th. So I'll have video, and I'll be able to give a real good answer on that. But like I said, honestly, right now, if I had to pick just from what I've been on, I would go back on Liberty. I think I would have to pick Liberty of the Seas, maybe Adventure of the Seas.
Haven't been in that one yet.
Yes, we have.
Oh, okay. They're all starting to run together.
Yes, you have.
Okay.
Poor baby. Yeah, I think I like that size.
Yeah.
That's been my favorite Royal Caribbean size so far. Then again, I could get on the Allure and find out that the Oasis class are just, I think they're the best. Who knows? Or I could get on the Oasis class and go, oh God, this is not for me. But we're going to find out, because I am curious.
Yes.
I am super, super curious. And that brings us home.
Yes.
Back home again.
And even disembarkation wasn't that bad. I mean, we stood in line for a little bit.
No worse than it. I've been in much worse disembarkations.
Oh, yeah. There was one. We waited, 2?
That was on Adventure.
And we waited like 2.
And they were fighting in line.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Adventure when they were fighting in line.
Yeah.
That one was rough. And it wasn't bad considering we got back to port 45 minutes late.
Yes.
The captain had to slow down. With too many nights of rough weather in a row, the only solution was to slow the ship down a little bit. And so, of course, that made us 45 minutes late getting back into port. But honestly, we were still off the ship by 8:30, 8:45, I think, something like that, at the very latest. Yeah. So it was like barely noticeable. If he hadn't have said anything, I don't think I would have even noticed.
Nobody would have even known.
Well, people with flights might have noticed, but I would never have even noticed, because we drive down to Galveston, and so I really don't pay attention. We can get off the ship. When we get off the ship, we get in the truck and we drive home. We're usually home by 12:30, 1 o'clock.
Yeah. And
boom, that quick, that easy. So, but you enjoyed the cruise.
Yes.
It was a good cruise.
It was a very good cruise. I'm definitely looking forward to the next one.
That's in 25 days.
Yes. That one's going to be fun with 30 of us.
Mm-hmm. 30 of us going, and Halloween. And it's going to be your first Halloween cruise.
Yes. Never done a Halloween cruise.
I haven't either, but I'll get to see one next week.
Yes.
I will get to see one next week. I said, so I'll be boarding the Ecstasy on Monday. Her final sailing ever. Carnival's brand ambassador, John Heald, is going to be on the sailing. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I'd actually like to meet the man. Shake his hand. I appreciate all the hard work he does. So hopefully I'll get to meet him next week.
Tell him keep the letters coming so you can keep making whatever cruiser wants.
Yeah. But there's supposed to be some different activities going on that ship next week. Certain events that he is specifically hosting. So we may get to see some different stuff next week. So that could be a good opportunity as well. So what else, baby cakes?
I don't know. I mean, it was
all cruised out.
It was a good cruise.
It was.
And it was a short cruise, but I was ready to come home.
We were relaxing pretty good. We took some naps.
Oh yeah, we never take a nap during a cruise. I think 2 days in a row we took a nap.
Yeah, we took naps.
Yeah.
It was a real chill, calm, relaxing. I want to say rejuvenating, but it was a little bumpy there towards the end.
Yeah.
So
I didn't get in my little reading nook too often because of the waves.
yes, they've seen you in the movie. If they watched the first video, they sure have. So, all right. So we're coming up here on the hour here. Does anybody have any questions? Anything cruising you guys want to talk about? Doesn't have to be about Grandeur. Be anything cruising, any cruise-related questions, anything we could answer for everybody before we get ready to shut this down for the day? Maybe not. No, you gotta give people a chance to type, of course. But just a reminder, so there are going to be videos coming out on Grandeur of the Seas here every other day. They'll be coming out until those are complete. The next live video is going to be just me on Monday, October the 10th. It'll be sometime in the afternoon. Of course, it will be the Carnival Ecstasy Embarkation Day video. So I'll be doing that on Monday, and then the next live after that will be 2 weeks from today. I'll be back from the Ecstasy, and we'll do the Carnival Ecstasy End of an Era recap.
Jay-Z said, have a great time on your cruise.
Oh, I definitely will. Going to have a good time. Going to take lots of video, lots of information to share with you guys. See some of the changes that Carnival's got coming out. Like I said, the new room service menus. I put one up, but I'll be able to see them in person and see what else is going on with those guys over there, because we haven't been on Carnival since March. So it'll be kind of interesting to see what's going on with all of that. But all right, everybody, so we're going to go ahead and hop off of here. Thank you for everybody that joined us tonight. Appreciate the conversation, the comments, the questions. I love it. Live videos are some of the best things that we can do, short of meeting you guys in person on board a cruise ship. Sorry, I get a little tongue-tied when I can't edit that stuff out. So really appreciate everybody being here. Thank you. The support you guys show for our channel is phenomenal, and we love it, and we appreciate it, and it lets us keep doing what we're doing.
And Desiree will be getting with you too.
Yeah, absolutely, Desiree. We'll get with you. We'll talk about it. I'll share any tips, tricks, little secrets I got. A couple of places for you to take a look at some stuff that'll help you out, that helped me out when I was starting in the beginning as well. So, all right. Well, everyone have a really good night, and we will see you
out on the high seas.
Out on the high seas. Y'all have a good night.